Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to chase your joy, find alignment, and create a life and a business that you love, using actionable methods, interviews, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host, your always hype woman and sometimes ass kicker, Amanda Chills, and I am so proud of you for choosing to step into your power. Come along, we've got dreams to go. Okay, Root of Power fam. You guys are in for a treat. Sara is so genuine, so sweet, so kind, and she is a coach for moms, and she helps them feel good AF in their bodies. Because you know that the mom bod, well, first of all, it's beautiful. Media makes it a struggle, right? And we'll talk about the difference with that. But God, women are just miracles, and we don't tell ourselves that enough. So bless you, dude, for working with moms, because they struggle and it's unfair and they are bringing life into this world. And then everyone's like, oh my God, you have to be like you were when you were 19. Like, fuck you. So Sara Olszewski, we're going to get it. She is doing that. And we are going to talk about that and like what you're doing and how you are and your own experience as a mom taking this journey. Hi.
Hello, it's so good to see you.
Dude, it is good to see you. How did you get into this?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I've been interested in nutrition for a long time. And like many women, struggled with dieting for a long time, yo-yo dieting, restrictive eating, over-exercising, all of those things to try to achieve a smaller body because that's what society says we should be doing.
Right.
I have always been a little bit more muscular. So my quote unquote BMI, which let's not go into the BMI road, but
racist. Did you know the BMI is racist?
Racist?
It was literally built to be discriminatory against people of color. Because they tend to have higher body fats. Yeah.
I heard that. I knew it was created by a mathematician who knows zero about science, but I did not hear the racist part. Mm-hmm. That's new to me.
Yep. Super fun.
Yeah. So I, at a young age, when I was in second grade, I think we were at a doctor's appointment, and this is one of my earliest memories. I remember the doctor telling my mom and me that my BMI was too high. And so that immediately made me feel like at a very young age, something was wrong with me and I had to be different. So fast forward many, many years of dieting, over-exercising, restrictive eating, being really interested in nutrition, but also kind of to a fault where I like made excuses for like reasons why I cut carbs and things like that.
Sure.
And then postpartum, welcome the exhausted mom, not sleeping, trying to go back to being a full-time employee while also keeping a baby alive and also trying to get back to your pre-baby weight.
Yeah.
I kind of got to a point in about 5 months postpartum that I just had a panic attack. Like my body was just like, no more, you're done.
Yeah. Bodies are really smart in that way.
Yeah.
I always say they'll shut you down if you're not listening.
It's exactly what happened to me. And so I kind of looked at my daughter and I looked at what I was doing, why I was doing it. And I was like, there has to be a better way. There has to be like, somebody has to start speaking up for the next generation because I don't want her or any of her friends or her cousins or anything to go through what I did. So I kind of just decided that was like my passion now, like just helping moms realize that the expectation that's put on us postpartum is just absolutely
and prepartum. Ridiculous. Let's be honest.
Right. Yeah.
Just as women, but you're so right. And I deal with a lot of moms from the like depression, anxiety, trauma angle. My cat's going wild too.
We got animals today.
It's fine. This is real life. And they never come for that, but we always end up there. And we talk about eating enough and sleeping, and you don't have to work out all the time. And I had a client, didn't come to me for body image issues, didn't come to me for disordered eating, anything like that. But through the process of us working together, got to this space where they said, I feel comfortable in my body for the first time ever. And I'm working out with less intensity. My body's actually responding better. And I'm like, that's because you're not beating it into submission anymore. And I was reading a quote the other day that says, I'm going to totally butcher this, but the point of the quote was that controlling women's eating habits and how we look and how we're supposed to look and all those things, like, it's not about being attractive. It's about control. Because when women are so obsessed with how we look and how we present to men or whatever, like, we are constantly undermining our own worth and our own power. And it's such a powerful control tactic. Yeah. And it's even worse when you have a human to keep alive.
Right.
Because that's hard. Like, I don't have kids. It's so hard. I don't have them. Like, that's how hard kids are. And I can't imagine doing that with the pressure that gets put on women to drop, I don't know how many pounds in 6 weeks. Like, it's just crazy. And it's so damaging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's so, like, pervasive too. Like, it's just, like, some people aren't even aware that they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
How many years of my life did I go through, like, just like you said, go through my life with like these external intentions of something that had nothing to do with my life. It was literally me trying to change myself for how society wants me to look. Yep. And I wasn't even living. Like, it was ridiculous.
And it can be totally counter to your body too. Like, and it's really pervasive, right? So I love Pinterest. So I'll be on Pinterest and people will be like, grow your butt in 30 days. Like, yeah, you could, but bitch, it ain't from donkey kicks. They'll be like really, really tiny girls who are like, get my ab workout, look like me in 30 days. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you are agents of the patriarchy.
I was following actually a mom before I became a mom. So I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And her whole thing is abs after baby. And so that was in my mind. And then when I became postpartum and then I had to hit this wall and decided to change the way that I wanted to be, I was like, I didn't have abs before baby. So why am I going to have abs after baby? It just gives like this, like, it preys on our insecurities. And
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like, sure, some women had abs and some women will have abs post baby, but if you didn't, there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I was, I don't know who I was talking to about this, but they were like, you could do it, but what would it cost you?
Right.
And I was like, well, that's a really good question. Like, you could do it and you could potentially do it in a healthy way, but it would cost you eating out and it would cost you a lot of time and it would cost you like you would have to track things. You would have to adjust things. And that's such a fine line. And there are a lot of people who use tracking macros or tracking apps and they're fine and it doesn't give them a complex, but there's a lot of people that do it in a really disordered way.
Yep. And that was exactly me. So like, there are people, I always say this, like, if you've never experienced that type of restriction or obsession, you don't really understand it. And you're like, well, what's so hard about getting up in the morning and exercising and like eating healthy? Right. But when you're doing it out of either hate for yourself or damage or something like that, it's completely different. And then it becomes unhealthy. And so I really, like, once I became aware that I was doing that, I cannot get on board with telling women that that's how you should approach postpartum. I just can't.
And right. And there's so many flavors that work for everyone. Like, for some people, tracking really does work and they can do it in a healthy way. But I think too, and I'd like to talk about that, is a lot of women see the consequences, or a lot of people talk about the consequences, like physically, how it damages your body and it throws your hormones out of whack and you can't sleep and you may miss a period and your body actually, like, you also can't efficiently burn fat because you're malnourished. Like,
right.
You may lose weight, but it's so much more nuanced than that. But I'm much more interested in the toll it takes on everything else. Because if you're coming at your body from hatred, which is really where a lot of that stems. I hate my body. I hate my legs. I hate the way I look. My mom will say, I hate my upper arms. And I'm like, cut them off. What? What? Like, what? Why are you telling your body that has carried you through this whole life? And especially for moms, that has carried another life, that you hate it. And you hate it to the point where you're trying to, like, you're trying to make it smaller. You're trying to make it different. You're trying to be anything but what it is, instead of just embracing what it is. And how that like seeps into every area of life. Cause I'll tell you, I've never met a woman on a diet who's happy.
Nope. Nope.
Like,
and it's never going to bring you happiness.
Who's chronically on a diet. I've never met a woman who is chronically on a diet who is happy. People who are dieting to lose weight or for a show, for building, for athletes, like that's a little different. Right. Those people tend to
category.
Right. Different category. So normal non-athlete people.
Yeah.
Who aren't doing
because we're always doing it to achieve something in order to make us happy. And it doesn't. So it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. And it's a lack, right? Like I'm not good enough. And then I think that just bleeds. It like bleeds into every aspect where your house isn't good enough and your car's not good enough and you're not pretty enough and your hair's not good enough and your husband or your wife or your partner isn't good enough and your kid's not good enough because you shove them into that box.
Right. Yeah. And it's one thing that you can kind of control. So why don't we? Might as well. It's there and it's available for us to control if we want to.
Yeah.
And it's really about, like you said, lack in the rest of your life, living outside your values, not having passions, not,
right. Get a hobby,
being happy in general.
So how do you see it affect the lives of yourself and the women that you work with? Like, what is it costing them to obsess over this like self-hatred?
Enjoying being a mom.
Oh yeah.
Like, I feel like the first couple months of postpartum, it was like, oh, can I get my workout in today? And I was like basing my worth of the day, like, did I get in a workout?
Wow.
And I see so many moms doing that. And yes, moving your body is amazing. But if you're not sleeping, just like you said before, the reason you're not seeing results is because you're likely overdoing it. Mm-hmm. When we're postpartum, walking, yoga, Pilates, maybe a couple like light weights here and there. I didn't feel like a human until a year postpartum.
And that's actually what research says is the recovery time is 1 year. So first of all, the fact that women go back to work like 2 weeks after they give birth is fucking nuts. Also systemic issues. Some people have to, a lot of people have to. But your body doesn't fully recover until a year later. And so when you're like starving it, when you're working too hard, your body's like, damn, bitch, can we just rest, please?
We'll take a quick little detour. I work for a global company. So it's really hard for me to be on teams with people that live in Europe that get to take a whole year off after they have their baby. And your company got a lot. No, because it's a country thing. It's not a company thing. So in other countries, you get a year to 18 months off and you're guaranteed your job back. In the US, there is no standard maternity at all. Yeah. So I got 12 weeks, which is considered a lot in the US. But I watched women go back to work 2 weeks postpartum, 6 weeks postpartum, and I don't even know how they did it because 12 weeks postpartum, I wasn't a human. A year postpartum, I was just feeling like a human.
What do they do with the position? They just have someone like fill in until then?
Yep. It's like, can we pause for 1 second? I'm sorry. Hey, it's okay.
No worries.
I can only handle so much, but then she was like, gonna start barking.
No, thank you.
Okay. So what do they do with the position? Yes, so other people fill in. So either the team absorbs the work or they will put somebody in temporarily to replace that person. At least at my company, this is how they do it. So you just get to leave for an entire year. And I can't even imagine what that would be like. And I wonder like how that bleeds into like their mental health and like mental health rates of moms in general in other countries. And it's just like, gosh, I wish that there was a way to make it happen.
One more question. Do they get paid?
I don't think, no, I think it's a percentage. I think it's a percentage.
Like so
I think it's full for like 3 months and it's probably different per country. So don't quote me on this, but I think it's full for 3 months and then percentages and probably the end, maybe you electively could take zero pay or go back to work.
Sure. If somebody knows, tell me, because that's interesting.
Right.
Like I know it exists, but I'm like the logistics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do not having time off and then having all this pressure. And, oh, by the way, you have to be a perfect mom. And everyone, I don't know anyone who likes to shame as much as like people like to shame moms.
Yeah.
And then, oh, here's the other thing that really pisses me off. So moms have to be perfect, right? And you know this because you're a mom. And dads have to not be the world's worst shitbag. Like literally, they get praised for doing nothing.
Very true.
The bare minimum. So then there's that. Oh, by the way, and you have to look hot. And there's all these mommy bloggers who are anorexic. I'm calling it because I follow some of them and they are so thin. They're like, I'm an extra small. Bitch, you are 40. What? Maybe that's your body type.
Yeah.
But I doubt it. But you see all like the popular ones, right? The ones that have the most followers, the ones that get the most sponsorships.
Likes, sponsorships, like, all those things.
They're so they are so thin.
And then they're the ones setting the standard, and all of us other moms are looking at them like, why am I not like that?
Yep.
And that's what really bothers me. And we had a brief discussion before we started recording. What's really getting to me about social media is it's becoming, for a long time, there was this window where we were like, oh, call people out on that kind of shit. And it's getting back to that now. Like I'm watching it slowly evolve back to like perfection and unattainable things. And I'm just like, I'm really relooking the way that I'm using social media because of that.
Yeah. And it's hard when you like run a business that uses social media. And this is what we were talking about. Like there was a time where it was so picture perfect and Insta perfect, whatever. And then it swung towards authenticity where everyone was so authentic. And it, like some people were like crying on camera. And I'm like, okay. I don't like people do that for marketing. Like, I'm so sad. Crying on camera. Like, what do you, anyway, that's a whole other tangent. But now it does swing to be swinging. It seems to swing. It swings. It seems to be swinging back to that. And I think people forget that it's a marketing tactic.
Yeah.
Like these people make money by making you feel like shit so that you want to look like them. So you buy the products they use. Now, a few of them are really aspirational. They're real. They say, hey, these are the products. They actually use them.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is BS marketing, and that's what sells. Thin, young, pretty, conventionally attractive, able-bodied, has a husband, like that tends to sell better. And I think if people aren't very careful about who they're following, it's easy to get in that trap. And then it does affect your mental health. Yeah. Because you're constantly, again, and great theme, we're coming from that place of not enough. My house isn't big enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not pretty enough. If I starve myself, then I'll be happy. Yes, kitty. Then I'll be happy. Guest appearance from the
my dog was just staring at me through a chair, so that's
fair. Yeah, we're just always stalked. It's okay. And it does affect your mental health, and so a lot of people think they have an anxiety and depression, and I'm like, you might. Like, I'm not gonna tell people they don't, but I'm like, let's fix all these little things. Let's like sleep more. Let's eat enough food.
Don't stay up until midnight watching all the girls do the same dance on TikTok over and over.
TikTok honestly is great and also terrible.
Well, I mean, Instagram does the same thing with the videos. Like, right. I feel like that's all that I see now is just people redoing the same video and the same dance moves, and we're all glued to it. And why? Why?
Because we're little gremlins. Do you work with a lot of clients who have a drinking problem? I think mommy drinking is such an epidemic. And anytime I talk to anyone who works with moms, I always bring it up because it is so sneaky.
So I feel like, and funny, the hot mess mom thing is totally
marketing tactic.
I can't stand it because it gives you this image of like your whole day is chaos. And then when finally the baby goes down to sleep, you get to open the bottle of wine and all your problems go away until the next day where you're playing catch up. So yeah, I think if you're not very careful and intentional with your time and your mental health and making sure you're setting boundaries, you can get caught in that really easily. And I think that's why it's so common, because motherhood can be very isolating. And like, I've experienced it. I've experienced the isolation part. And I know that if I'm not very intentional about making sure I'm journaling, going to therapy, using my tools in my toolbox, that I could easily slip into that hot mess mom thing. Tool belt.
And I think it's a really, like, what I saw as an outsider is it came from wanting to lift women up and say motherhood is so hard and it actually is a real job, that it went so far and companies were like, oh, this is now a marketing tactic because that's what they do. And it became like, it is so hard, reward yourself. It's so hard. It's uncontrollable. And like, I don't mean to be rude, but like, for me, and I don't have kids, so take it for what it is. Please educate me. When you have a baby, it seems unrealistic that you literally don't have time to eat 3 bites of food. Like, how exaggerated are those messages? Because I get if you're
not so exaggerated.
Okay. So I don't know.
So there are times, so like we call it witching hour. So after work, we, the baby comes home from either daycare or her grandparents, and the dogs are running around and she wants to be held, and I'm trying to cook dinner and my husband's trying to control the dogs, and it's chaos. It is chaos. I will admit. It's not always like that. So,
but like for me, when you were home with your kiddo, like for the 12 weeks, like, because the rhetoric is, well, there's no time to shower. There's no time to eat. I haven't had water in 16 days. What? Like, babies sleep the majority of the time when they're newborns. And I get, you have to like change diapers, you have to keep them alive, and like, that's work, but
I also think it depends on your baby too. Some babies sleep very well. Some babies nurse very well. Others you struggle with. And so for example, I prepped a little bit of food before I had my daughter, because I was like, I'll be home. I can cook. There's plenty of time. There isn't. So when you do struggle with breastfeeding, they want you to do this, like, you have to breastfeed every 2 hours on the 2 hour mark. And so by the time you wake up, feed the baby, change them. You like, your time has gone down to like a half an hour of like, okay, what do I do with, like, what do I decide to do with this?
Right.
Minutes to 30 minutes. So there is definitely a period of time where it is a struggle. Like, I would forget to eat till like 11 o'clock sometimes. So yes, it does exist. And I think that's part of that whole societal, like, we need help postpartum. You're not just supposed to go home by yourself and be expected to cook and clean and take care of the baby.
Agreed.
And then go back to work 12 weeks after. Like, you're supposed to go home, and your mom is supposed to come, or your aunts are supposed to come.
Somebody
supposed to help you. But we don't do that in the US.
Yeah. Which is such a disservice to families. Like, the nuclear family unit. I was reading about this a while ago, and how it was literally a marketing tactic. Like, we
were talking about this on
yes. Okay. So it was, same thing. Like, it was a marketing tactic to sell more stuff. Because if you have the same family in 2 different households, now they need double the things.
Right.
And it isolates people, and people who are, Kitty, you would. And people who are isolated are more likely to buy things to make themselves happy. They're more likely to beat themselves up. They're more likely to, it's just so connected and gross. But so when you work with women, like, what do you do?
Ask for help. Eliminate the noise. So I think we try to keep ourselves so busy with things that don't actually matter, like working out an hour a day. So I had a friend of mine who is a new mom, come to me and say, how do you do your job, be a good mom, like do your hobby and exercise? And I'm like, start getting rid of the things that like don't actually matter. Like, you don't need to be doing your hobby. So her hobby is working horses. So you don't need to be working horses and running. This is like,
working
horses is exercise. And it doesn't, we have to get out of this idea that like the only valuable exercise is pounding pavement for an hour, because it's not, especially postpartum. So another person had described it this way. So it's like, you have glass balls and you have plastic balls. And sometimes when you're juggling, you have to drop the plastic balls.
Yes.
Like, get rid of all the things that you don't need to be doing, because there's a lot of them, like laundry. there's a reason there's that meme that's like, how long does it take to do laundry? And it's like 4 to 7 business days for folding time. Like it's honest, it's true.
Sure.
And you just have to drop those things.
Yeah.
And then do what really matters and ask for help, because I think we've also made it in this society where like we like shame people for asking for help. Like, oh, you can't do it all. Sucks to be you.
Better drink wine about it.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, just like setting those boundaries, like making sure you're doing the things that are actually important and not the things that don't matter, like keeping your house spotless. So
yeah. And so it's interesting.
Delegate.
Right. Well, that also assumes that you have a good partner.
Yep.
Because if you have a shitty partner, guess what? You are doing it all by yourself. So that may be one of the things to really evaluate. Like, does your partner suck?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they
good?
It'd be
easier to just do it all on your own, because you're probably doing it all on your own anyway.
Yeah, 50% of the time, yes. And I wager it's a higher number than that.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of clients where I'm like, you have 2 babies. One of them is your partner. They suck.
Kind of brings it back to what you said earlier, like that, like fathers can really get away with a lot.
Oh my God. Yeah. Which, don't let your partner be a lazy shitbag.
Nope. I saw something the other day, another meme that was like, oh, Frank, let's call him Frank, is the dad. And he's like, oh, Frank will have so much fun watching the child on Saturday. And it's like, yes, he will enjoy continuing his duty as a father.
He'll enjoy parenting. God bless. It's interesting that you work with women to feel good in their bodies. And a lot of the work that you do is not working out.
Yes, that's actually probably the last thing on my list.
Yeah.
Like I definitely encourage, like, go for a walk if you can, do some yoga if you can.
Move.
Yeah. Which is funny because I used to be a Beachbody coach, different story, but like before I had a baby, I was so like, let's follow a program, like let's do a schedule. And now I'm like, fucking don't even look at a schedule, because it's going to make you feel bad, because you're not going to be energetic enough at some point to do said workout. And then you're going to say, I'm not good enough because I can't do it. And it just starts that shame cycle over and over. So now I do like a completely different approach where I'm like, sleep, drink water, eat nutritious foods, work on your mental health, set boundaries, like
move your body.
Yeah. If you got time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a season for it. Like I just started working with a coach, shout out Allison. She's dope. And she gives me workouts to do, and we have days that we do them, but I'm also in a season where like, and again, I know I have kids, like, so that helps. I have a lot more time. Where I'm in a season where like most things are really structured. So I have the room to do that. But also if I have to do it on a different day, or if like, there's been days, and I've worked with her for a few months now, like there's been days where I just go and I'm like, I'm doing the workout, but it's not me going 100%. Like the most I can do today is like get in the gym and lift some weights. And it's not even the
funny about that too, is I've been looking a lot more into like your cycle and like your energy levels and your hormones, and like really listening to your body and being like, okay, why is it that you feel like one day you can go run 3 miles with like so much energy, but the next day you're just tanked? And it could be because we work on a cycle, because we're women who have cycles.
That's actually really fascinating. I'm glad you brought that up, because I interviewed a woman named Leisha Drews, one of the really early interviews. So like y'all go listen to that one. And the way that our energy works with the cycles is nuts. And there's actually, I was listening to a business coach a long time ago who helps women structure their business flow according to where they are in their cycle. And I was like, that is really cool. I'm not going to do it, but like that, but it's cool. It was cool to learn about. But yeah, some days your best is 30% of your 100%. And some days it's your 100%. But if all those other things aren't dialed in, and if you're coming from a place of hate for yourself, like it's not going to work.
You can't force it. You know, we always think like, okay, if I just was following this plan or able to eat this diet, then, but you can't force your body into submission. It's always kind of like you said earlier, it's always going to fight back. It's going to stop you. Like you said, I hit a wall. I had a panic attack. That was my body saying that's enough. Like it only takes so much.
And it's crazy how many people will ignore panic attacks. I'll like people and they'll be like, oh, I've had panic attacks for 6 months. And I'm like, what?
How are you functioning?
Oh, I went and I got some Valium about it. And I'm like, no.
Well, that's the thing that, okay. So yes, I am a huge, like, yes, use the drugs when you need to, but I'm way more about the, like, let's get to the core issue of why have we normalized, like, let's just put Band-Aids over everything.
Right. Like, why are you taking Valium instead of assessing why you're having panic attacks?
Yeah. Yep. Because we don't make time for ourselves.
And people always know, like, it's crazy because I'm like, well, I really don't know. And I say, well, what's your best guess? And then they hit it on the nail, or they hit the nail on the head. And I'm just like,
there it is.
Well, that's it, boo. It's so funny. Like the disconnect. Oh, that's actually really good. Because when you beat your body into submission, when you hate your body, when you undereat and overtrain and ignore all of your physical cues, you actually cut yourself off from such a wealth of knowledge. Is that something that you see too?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I've experienced it myself, so I know it's a thing. When you're not listening to yourself anymore, whether it's your hunger cues, your energy levels for exercise, your mental health. Like I have been on, I think it was like bupropion, whatever, Wellbutrin before. And I didn't even realize until I came off of it, how numb I was.
Buspirone, I think. Something like that. Yeah. But you don't, because those medications numb you. That's what they do. They suppress your central nervous system. And so people are like, I feel like a zombie. And I'm like, yeah.
Because you are kind of.
That's the point.
But yeah, once you start actually listening, so like I do a lot of intuitive eating with women because I think it's the only way to get you back to listening to your body instead of being like, this plan says I eat a cup of potatoes and some chicken right now. So I do. Potatoes. And you're not even hungry.
Yeah, you're right. So can you explain what intuitive eating is for people that don't know?
Sure. So intuitive eating is basically, there are no rules around food. There are no moralities around food as in good or bad. You literally just think to yourself, okay, what do I have? What am I in the mood for right now? And there's no guilt behind it. So if you say, I'm in the mood for a salad, great. If you say, I'm in the mood for pasta, great. And and it's always available at all times. And so you may have to go through a period of time where you overeat because you're relearning how to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
And depending on how long you went restricting or over-exercising or whatever, and numbed all of those cues of like, okay, this is what full feels like. This is what hungry feels like. So it took me probably 6 months, honestly, to get to a point where I was like, okay, I'm honestly listening to my body. So last night, for example, I made like this ravioli bake and I was like, this sounds so good. And I started eating it and I was like, this doesn't feel good. My body is not happy with this. So I gave my husband the rest. I was like, here, you can eat this. But 2 years ago, when I was in diet mode, I would have ate that to the point where I felt sick because I would have been like, oh, this is the one day a month I'm allowed to eat pasta.
Yeah.
So it's really just bringing yourself back to listening to your own cues and stop following what, Susie Six-Pack puts on like a piece of paper and tells you to eat.
Right. And I don't know if you saw the trend for a long time, but a lot of those influencers, in quotes, we're doing what I eat in a day posts. And I think it was promoting the most disordered fucking.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Because people are like, oh my God, I should do that.
Yes.
You weigh 3 times.
Well, and people, not even just like calorie wise, but nutrition wise, nutrients are super important pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, postpartum.
Oh my gosh.
And if you're taking advice from someone who has zero knowledge or training in nutrition, that could be very damaging. Like, for example, there are a lot of women out there who promote veganism during pregnancy, and you cannot get enough iron, like utilizable iron. So let's just say that. Sure, there's iron in spinach, in general, choline, folate. These are all essential in pregnancy.
Humans are meant to eat animals. No, literally.
Do I feel sad? Yes, but it also tastes good and it's giving me nutrients.
And we're meant to eat it.
Right.
We're meant to eat it. Like, don't be. And I think, side note, I think vegans ignore the human toll that mono agriculture takes because no food is blood free. No food is blood free. I live in a farm community. The food's not blood free.
Right. Very true. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. So I think they ignore that part, and that's a whole other thing. But yeah, humans are meant to eat meat. But yeah, these people like don't have, because people want an easy fix, right? And we're lazy, and we've been taught like attractiveness at all cost without really consenting to the cost, because people aren't honest about what it costs. And again, like some people can track and can be paleo and can be primal and can be keto, and they're happy and they're thriving and their body works that way. You cannot be vegan and be that way. Come at me, vegans. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Veganism is not healthy. I don't care. But there are people that can do it, but the percentage of people that can do it and have a really healthy relationship with food is smaller.
Very low,
than people that use it for disordered eating. And I think a lot of people don't want to admit that they have disordered eating, and it's a lack of knowledge, because this is just the normal. Like, I have never worked with women where a majority of women were not taught either on a diet, which was all the time, talking about how much they ate. Oh, it's okay. I'll have it now because I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, who cares? Like
validating every single thing that they do around
food
or exercising. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's hard now that I'm so aware of it to have regular conversations with women who are not, because I have to just try to change the subject. I'm not going to try to like coach them right there, that they didn't ask for it.
Right.
So to be around something, it's so common.
It is wild.
It's everywhere.
And I'll tell you, like, I started working with my coach, Allison, and she had me track my food for a few days, and mostly it's annoying to me because I don't remember and I have to input things, and it's like a thing that I have to do, and it's annoying. But she has worked with dozens of people, like dozens, and she'll have people track their food to make sure they're, eating whatever. And she said, I am the first woman she's ever worked with ever. And she has done this for a few years now, that has ever come close to 2,000 calories, which is like where you're supposed to be sitting as an adult. And she's like, you are literally the first woman ever. And I was hitting like 16 to 1,800, sometimes 2,000, just depends if I was eating a lot that day. But I was like, and I said, what? Like, hi, puppy. And
Sorry.
I said, what? No, that's okay. This is real life. We're authentic.
Yeah.
But I said, where do women normally sit? And she said, most women eat like 1,000 calories a day, which
I remember because I would be reading like 17 magazine or something like that. And literally I remember, here's 12,000 calorie diet, 12,000 calorie diet. And
1,200.
That's, or 1,200.
Yeah.
12,000
is like Dwayne Johnson.
1,200 calorie diet. And that gets drilled into our heads. And so we think that that's what you're supposed to be eating. When I was on a 1,200 calorie diet, I was irritable. I was moody. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I was forcing workouts. So living like that is just
miserable.
Yeah. And you're never going to become happy by forcing that kind of, because then you think, okay, well, fine, I reached my goal weight, and then it's not sustainable. So you go back to what you were doing, which is the exact issue with diets in the first place.
Right. And this broke my heart. I had a client, one of my first clients, absolutely wonderful, wonderful woman. And she was to the point where like, she would not do things that she really wanted to do because of the way that her body looked. Yeah. And I was like, you are going to give up adventures because your thighs are bigger than you want them to be.
Mm-hmm. So sad.
And I think like, we don't think about that cost. Well, I can't go to the beach in a bathing suit.
Yeah. Literally missing out on your life.
Because you're
built different.
Because you have a belly, like it holds your organs in. It's doing its job. And I don't know if you do this, but I have found something really helpful is like an affirmations ladder. We're talking about like, if women are listening to this and they're like, oh shit, that's me.
Yeah. Oh, not everybody does that.
Oh, I thought that was normal. It is. It's just not helpful.
Yeah.
I will typically take people through an affirmations ladder where like, if you're at the place where you're restricting and you hate your body and you're avoiding things because of how you look or how you think people will judge you for how you look, whatever. it is impossible to go from that to like, I love my body and my body is fabulous and I am a goddess. Like you are, it is, but it feels really fake. Mm-hmm. So I will have women start with literally like, my body keeps my bones intact. And that's nice. Like my stomach holds my organs. That's helpful. And I have them literally start with things like that. And they're like, well, that feels silly. And I'm like, but at least it's honest.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's why women think that you just walk up to a mirror and start repeating affirmations and then you believe, but it's not realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Love the affirmations ladder. And I'm like, just start with like, you have a body.
Yep. Thank you for getting me from A to B.
I have a body and it works most of the time. But that feels so much more honest. So if
it does,
when you like, what are the biggest determinants for you when you're working with women? If they're like, oh, like I do a lot of these things, it kind of sounds like me. How do you know when someone's in this space where like changing things would be helpful? Does that make sense?
So kind of like, how do you know that what I teach is going to help them?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I have like a questionnaire that I have them go through. It basically outlines like, okay, how many times have you been on a diet in your life? Like what diets have you tried?
Yeah.
And then I have them journal out different little sections of like, okay, when we talk about unlimited food or unlimited carbs, how does that make you feel? Like, does that
probably
bring
nervous
up for you? Yeah. So if this is you and you're like, oh, that I checked that box, how does the scale make you feel? If you're in a great mood and you step on the scale and it says something you don't want, does it ruin the rest of your day?
Yeah. And it's so sneaky. Like it really is little things like that.
Yep. Little things that you're probably doing on a daily basis that you don't even realize you're doing. And I know this because I was that person. So no judgment. I was there.
Let's just talk about it.
It's kind of like you said something. I just watched one of your reels and you were like, it's just a skill. That's all this is it's just like you're building skills and it's hard. It's simple, but it's difficult because I was doing it for 25 years.
Yeah. Right. I tell people like wake up and walk a different way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, simple little things like that. You're in a habit right now.
Brush your teeth with your other hand.
I don't know if I could do that.
So it is so awkward. Like, but that's, you're right. And everything is a skill. Loving your body, not giving a shit about your body, eating well, like learning to rest. All of those things really are just skills. And they're simple skills. Like I have people all the time. David asked me yesterday morning, he said, I know I'm probably going to know your answer. David is Bay for people who don't know. And he said, how do you get more disciplined? And I said, David, how do you get better at playing the piano? And he was like, damn it. Practice it. And I was like,
we want the quick fixes. So
right.
So hard.
Quick fix is practice. That's it, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, like how do you build a better relationship with your body? You practice having a better relationship with your body. That's it. And it's that simple.
And I think initially for some people, it's neutral.
Like, oh my God. You know, honestly, if everybody
years
got to
ago
the space of neutral, I'm fucking happy. Like, just don't care about your body. Right. Take care of it, but like, stop paying attention to it. Except to take care of it.
Like years ago, if somebody would have made a comment about my body, it would have ruined probably my week. I would have gone on a crash diet.
Oh.
Like now, if someone says something, it's a neutral feeling because I created human. I've had cancer. Sorry that my body doesn't look the way you want it to.
Yeah, right? Die mad about it.
Right.
I wonder if it must be a very different relationship to when you've had cancer. I forgot that you did. But I'm glad you brought it up because that, I wonder, and this may or may not be true for you, but I wonder if that felt like a betrayal. So then it makes like loving your body a little bit harder. I don't know if that is something that you felt.
So I think there's always that part where you're like, I should love it because it carried me through cancer.
Yeah.
But that doesn't just fix it.
Yeah.
So you still have to do the work and the practice.
Yeah.
You would think like, okay. And I think there are actually, so personally, I feel like there are women in the world or people in general who are very like, when they survive cancer, they're very proud. And I was never like that. So for me, it was more like, I didn't really want to talk about it. And I think that's just like you said, for all those things, it's just skills and learning to, it was not something I was expecting. Like after college, all of a sudden I had leukemia. And so that didn't mean that all of my traumas and all of my work that I needed to do up until that point just went away. So it still played into my life, and I still had to do the work. So it's interesting.
It's like an interesting cross section of that, because you're, not intentionally, but like your body did harm you. Again, not like intentionally, but I think it makes it a little more muddy for things like self-love and self-acceptance, and another reason to embrace and accept your body. There are some schools of thought, not that I agree with this, but there are some schools of thought where they say like how you feel towards your body can manifest in disease. So like if you spend your whole life hating your body, like it's going to start like autoimmune disorders. So they will, again, don't agree with it, but there are some schools of thought that say like, because you hate your body all the time, like your body starts attacking itself. So it will develop autoimmune.
Funny that you brought this up, because I'm actually listening to a book right now that is a little bit about this.
Interesting.
So it's almost like your thoughts become your beliefs, become your reality.
Yeah.
They say when you're in a really unfulfilled job that you tend to get sicker more often.
Oh yeah.
And so it's all about like your gut brain axis and your gut health in general and those things. So is it causation, or is it just correlated? Because if you're living in that type of mentality, you're probably not treating yourself very well with food or alcohol.
And you're stressed out.
Yeah. And you're stressed out. You're probably not sleeping.
Yeah.
All bad for your gut. So in turn, your immunity is lower, your health is lower. So
it was an interesting assertion. It feels victim blamey to me to say like, well, your thoughts created your autoimmune disorder. Like, okay, well, I don't know that I go that far.
Well, so it's about genetics though. So like you had those genes, they were just not turned on because you were living a different way. So if you start living a super unhealthy life, you're having a lot of toxins in your life that could turn on different genes in your body.
It was interesting. It was an interesting assertion. But I think everything is so much more nuanced than like,
there's no black and white. It's not like you switched to like, I ate a donut, so I turned on my gene for leukemia. Like it didn't happen.
Yeah. I dieted, so I have an autoimmune disorder. Like, I think it's much more.
There's actually like, so in relation to like the leukemia thing, the science came out that said that, so mixing sodium benzoate, which is in diet soda, with vitamin C creates benzene, which can lead to cancer. So I was drinking a crap ton of Diet Mountain Dew in college. Did that lead to my leukemia? Maybe. Doesn't mean that like diet soda causes cancer necessarily, but you're turning on different genes in your body. You're turning off different genes in your body that could potentially make you more susceptible to things like that.
It's wild to think about when you get like that meta. It's a lot. Makes my brain.
That's how my brain works. I'm like, science.
What is this? Science is good though. All right. So how do people find you? And if you want them to remember one thing, what would it be?
In relation to moms postpartum, I think the one thing I want you to remember is that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to not do everything.
Yes. Love that.
And you can find me on Instagram at Sara Olszewski. You can also find me on Facebook. I have a website that's just saraolszewski.com.
Can you spell
it? Yes, Olszewski. And I have no H at the end of my name.
So Sara.
Yes.
And then spell it one more time.
Olszewski. And I also have a podcast. It's Good Enough Mama Podcast. Kind of ties in everything we talked about today. So.
And it is a good podcast. How's your podcast going, by the way?
It's good. I'm rethinking a little bit of the direction that I want to take with it, but yeah, I love it.
I'm on a break right now, so I'm filming a bunch of these, which is what we're doing right now for 2022, because I decided to take a break for the rest of 2021.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now too. I have literally an interview sitting ready to go, and I'm like, it doesn't feel right. I don't know what it is, but something doesn't feel right. I'm taking a pause.
Love it.
From social media in general. So
yeah.
Just kind of reevaluating where I am.
But people can reach out to you on social.
Yes. I still check it every day. I just don't post every day right now.
Yeah. Sometimes that's nice though.
Mm-hmm. Takes away a lot of pressure.
All right, my dude. Thank you so much. This was
You're
good.
welcome.
I like it.
I hope so. I hope people find value in it.
I think they will. And if they don't, I can't help for bad taste.
I literally can't help you.
I literally cannot help you. I'm sorry. All right, fam. Go be good. Have a good day. And remember, you can ask for help. And you don't have to do everything yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.